Welcome to IncRed Global Outlook. I am Aditya Khemka, Fund Manager here at IncRed AMC. With me, I have Punita Kumar Sinha, Dr. Punita Kumar Sinha. She is the chairperson at IncRed AMC. Welcome, Punita.
Thank you, Aditya. Glad to be back to discuss markets and global outlook.
So, Punita, first question from our side. What's driving the liquidity in the global markets, including markets like US and India? And how have value and growth done over the past couple of years? If you could give a sense of, where do you see things going in value versus growth equation?
Yeah. No, good question. So, Aditya, as you know, that liquidity has been very strong. All governments have given quite a bit of fiscal stimulus. I think the largest one was given in the US, which is what fueled liquidity across the world and for equity markets last year. So, interest rates in the US, bond yields, for instance, have come down over the last 20 years from 6% to almost zero. So that is a big, sharp drop. And so investors are getting no return at all for their money in the bank. And that means that they need to find other sources of return, which is why a lot of money has gone into equity markets. A lot of money has gone into other asset classes. Real estate has also done well. So generally, all asset classes have benefited. Of course, with the drop in yields, bonds also did really well. But of course, now that the yields are so low, bonds are not looking obviously as a source of good return, because from here on, yields would probably only tick up. So liquidity globally, both with the monetary policy and the fiscal policy, has been very strong, because both monetarists, central banks, as well as governments on the fiscal side, have given enough stimulus on both sides as well. That's what's happening on the liquidity front. And of course, whether it is Powell, whether it is Janet Yellen, or the president in the US, they're all committed to keeping in unemployment low. So basically, they want full employment, and they want to keep lower rates for longer. And even if that means that inflation comes back in a little bit of a way. So I think that's sort of the policy that is being followed, that has been fueling liquidity. On your second question on value versus growth, given this kind of stimulus, given this kind of liquidity, growth stocks have done much better than value stocks. Growth has really outperformed. So in fact, last year, growth outperformed value by a huge margin. We're seeing some of that rotation now happening from growth to value. So this calendar year, for instance, growth versus value in the S&P have pretty much performed similarly. So they are beginning to converge. So that disparity of growth outperforming value is now narrowing. And that's partly because the growth stocks have become quite expensive. So now people are looking for attractive value stocks. And from here on, I think the focus is back again to looking for value.
Punita, you mentioned the point on bond yields in US falling from 6% to near zero over the past few years. But we have of late seen a marginal recovery from the bottom in terms of the yields. Would you say this is something which is structural? This is something which can grow further? And therefore, do you see a risk to the valuation multiples that equities are trading at? Or is it that the bond market has started to, sort of discount some inflationary scenario given the liquidity tap is still flowing, and the equities aren't just ready to discount the inflation risk just yet?
No, good question. So we have seen some pickup in bond yields in the US. And of course, even in India, we have seen some tick up in bond yields after the budget, because of the big fiscal stimulus in a way that the government has given in the budget in terms of fiscal spending. But it has been a very marginal tick up yet. And the governments across the world still are not ready to pull the plug on fiscal stimulus and liquidity. And so I think more is coming, at least in the US, we're expecting a big stimulus still. And I expect that over longer periods of time, we will see inflation pick up. We're already beginning to see some of that in the US, but not alarming enough that the bond yields will really spike up. Even in India, I think when the fiscal deficit numbers remain high for a couple of years, we will see pick up in bond yields. But The recent inflation numbers are mixed. For instance, the CPI indicated a lower number in India than the WPI. WPI indicated a tick up. And the stimulus in India has been largely on the supply side, which means generally inflation shouldn't pick up. But the demographics of India are such that demand constraints always come up. I mean, the demand is high, and so the supply constraints kind of do cause inflationary pressures longer term. So that's a longer term issue that I think equity markets have to be worried about. Whenever inflation ticks up and interest rates go up, you're right, that does cause a compression in valuations multiples. But at the moment, I expect that it's more of a medium term worry that we need to have. So for the next 6 to 12 months, it's perhaps not a big worry, but yes, going out further, this is my biggest worry with the markets.
So, I was just noticing Nasdaq has outperformed everything else in the global markets, and be it EMs or DMs, Nasdaq as an index has basically outperformed everything else. How do you read this polarization in performance of the old economy versus the new economy?
Yeah, last year that was the case, that the Nasdaq really did outperform everything else. In fact, it was the best performing asset class globally, up by a huge margin versus any other asset class. But that ever since the US elections, which is what I had talked about in the last podcast, is that we expect that money will flow more to emerging markets with the maybe a more benign trade policy environment with President Biden's government, and also the valuation disparity that existed between developed markets and emerging markets, and in that also, tech versus non-tech, also there could be a shift, and exactly that's what we're seeing year to date. So if you look year to date, in fact, the Russell 2000, which is the broader market index in the US, it's outperformed the Nasdaq. And in fact, emerging markets have outperformed the S&P, China being the best performing market. India is in line with generally emerging markets. It's not outperformed yet, but there has been a shift to mid and small caps in the US. So awareness and the tech's kind of taking a little bit of a backseat. So we are seeing, as you said, a shift more into the old economy stocks globally.
Interestingly, in the previous podcast, we had mentioned that the market was broadly expecting a divided House and a Senate in the US. And, from whatever we have seen latest in the state elections in the US, it seems that Democrats sort of have control on both the houses. And in that light, if you were to think about policy making in the US, if you had to think about cyclicals versus defensives, both in the US and the Indian context, how would you sort of rate that picture today?
Yeah, so actually, I think the markets were really hoping that it would be a divided House and Senate, because that means that no party can really push through really drastic tax reforms or tax changes. Unfortunately, now it looks like the Democrats and the Republicans are tied 50-50 in the Senate, and in the House also. I think it's a very close call. So we do think that some tax policies that are in favor of raising taxes, particularly for the rich, maybe potentially also for long-term capital gains. There has been discussion that that could go up. There's also discussion that the estate tax limitations and exclusions could reduce, which means that people will have to eventually pay higher estate tax. So all of those could get passed through, which are not necessarily viewed very kindly by markets. So I think this is not the ideal outcome, but currently that's the scenario we are facing. So that is a little bit of a risk that we see going out in the markets.
The same like Punita, if you were to think about cyclicals versus defensives, defensives like IT, healthcare, and cyclicals like maybe financial services, automotives, how would you feel, they would play out in the next year or so, given you have some policy making room in US, and how does that impact the market?
Right. So Ditya, you're the expert on healthcare. So actually, you should answer that question. But I will talk broadly about IT versus other sectors, technology versus other sectors. So technology has outperformed globally in a big way. So if you look at the US market cap to GDP, it's pretty much at an all-time high, even almost higher than what we saw in the previous booms in 99, etc. And the top 10 stocks, which are largely technology, are basically accounting for a large part of this. If you remove those, then if you look at the market cap to GDP, then the numbers look more reasonable. So just so you know, on that basis, and looking at the valuations of the tech stocks, and also the fact that growth versus value, and tech stocks are growth, generally considered growth stocks, and the cyclicals that we are talking about are considered more in the value camp. That itself means that there is a shift going to happen towards, and is happening towards stocks that are non-tech. And also with the stimulus we've seen, I think capex investment, all of that is going to be benefiting anything that is economically sensitive, and financials are a big part of that. Financials, in fact, had underperformed tech in a big way last year. We are seeing some of that rotation into financials. In fact, I think this year financials have probably outperformed tech as well. And so there is that shift happening. As I said, it's also orienting the markets to focus more on value. Value is harder to find. I mean, growth is already kind of peaking, and value is what we really need to look for in these markets. There is value. There are companies and stocks that have been big laggards, and those are the ones that are going to see the benefit of liquidity.
Right. Actually, as you said, even in healthcare, there are companies which are working on new technologies, disruptive technologies, and these companies are really more tech companies than healthcare companies to me. And in that sort of ecosystem, those companies have done fairly well, and the traditional healthcare companies have actually not performed that well. And therefore, the new technology companies are becoming more sort of growth companies and getting that sort of valuation. And the traditional sort of healthcare companies with the traditional business model, they are more value today. So that's pretty much the same, I think, what we've observed in the broader market as well. So Punita, therefore, I have this question on, given that the coronavirus cases are still going up in US, and you still have total number of cases rising every day, and the global markets seem to be sort of, assuming a recovery in corporate earnings for the next year. They seem to be pricing it in. Do you see any risks to corporate earnings going forward, further GDP downgrades, corporate earning downgrades? And if so, how do you feel markets may potentially react?
Mm-hmm. You're right, Ditya. I mean, COVID cases in the US are rising still, and we are still seeing a lot of lockdowns. And it's a big contrast. I mean, I came to India end of December, and in the US, it was, the restrictions were still very strict because the cases were rising. The ICU bed capacity in most states in the US had fallen down to like 1% or near zero. And then in India, at the same time, ICU beds capacity was vacant. The number of cases here seem to have decreased. Their business activity is, resuming to normalcy. In fact, you've come to work. So, we're not seeing that in the US. People are still largely working from home, other than those absolutely needed to go to work. But then the vaccination drive in the US is also far ahead of what we are seeing in India. In fact, the top 4 countries with the massive amounts of vaccination so far includes Israel, UAE, and the US. So they are far ahead in India. I mean, I think the numbers are increasing rapidly. So my numbers may be dated, but I think as of last month, there were already like almost 40 million people vaccinated in the US. And so the vaccinations will ensure that at some point over the next 3 to 6 months, a large part of the population will get vaccinated, and that business activity can resume. And so that will provide some kind of a cushion to corporate earnings growth and business activity. Of course, some of that is already reflected in stock prices and valuations. As you know, stocks always look ahead of the economy. Earnings growth actually has been fairly good for the US. And in India too, I think business activity has resumed. We are seeing, earnings pretty decent. In fact, a lot of companies have managed their costs really well during this period, partly because, their travel expenses and other expenses have been coming down. They've managed other efficiencies as well. And some of these will probably stay, some of these costs may go up. But even though we didn't have strong necessarily volume growth across all sectors, we did have good cost management. So I think there are many levers companies have going forward as well that will probably mean that for the next 6 to 12 months, at least, or the next 12 months, earnings growth would be okay. I mean, looking at estimates, they're still seeing upgrades. Even on GDP, we are seeing upgrades from IMF. India, of course, being the strongest one at 11% forecast for next year. But there are still upgrades going forward. But as I said, the thing to really worry, there are 2 or 3 things to worry about. You have to worry about inflation and rising yields. That is always a concern for markets. You have to worry about geopolitics. You have to worry about another variant of COVID coming and then the vaccination proving to be ineffective. I mean, there are all these kinds of risks that do exist. So given where valuations are, one has to say that the upside downside ratio, in fact, is not as attractive as it was perhaps a few months ago. But there's more certainty of this, at the moment that business activity will resume and that the worst is behind us. So I think that gets priced in the markets as well.
Thanks, Punita, for those responses. I hope this was an interesting session for our viewers on the global outlook and how the markets could behave going forward. Punita, once again, thanks for your time, and I hope to see you again sometime next month for our next episode of Global Outlook.
Thank you, Aditya, and thank you to all the viewers for watching.